everyone, welcome once again to Asian Vision Dialogue. With me, Sreynou, the host of today's program. Ladies and gentlemen, it is widely known that Cambodia continues to be an ideal destination for investors, property developers and businesses aiming to expand their activities and increase their market presence within the ASEAN region. And more importantly, the royal government of Cambodia also pointed out that the real estate sector is an important part of Cambodia economic growth. Because of this reason, today the Asian Vision Dialogue is pleased to have our guest speaker, Dr. Limchheang. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Dr. Limchheang to our program. Greetings, Dr. Limchheang.
Thank you, Sreynou, for having me. And it's my great pleasure to be here with AVD. And I hope I can share what I am experiencing.
Yeah, thank you. So without further ado, let me pose a few questions with regard to our topic today. So Dr. Limchheang, what role does the real estate sector plays in the country development, specifically in the case of Cambodia?
Yes, for the real estate and construction, that we can say that one of the sector that push the Cambodian economics. Over the past 2 decades before the COVID pandemic, Cambodia have a significant transition by reaching lower middle income status in 2015 and set its objective to become a middle income country by 2013. Cambodia economy sustained an average annual growth rate of 7.7 between 1998 and 2019 to make it one of the fastest growing economies in the world. So what are the key factors of Cambodia economic growth? The main sector of this economic growth are tourism, manufacturing, export, and the construction. For sure, it represents more than 70% of GDP. Particularly since 1990, the real estate and construction became the key element of the economic growth strategy in Cambodia, while Phnom Penh welcomed a large number of foreign investment in the real estate sector. For example, in 2015, while the World Bank projects that the Cambodian GDP growth will be slowed down to 6.9% due to the underperformance of the rice production, the pressure on the pricing of the garment industry, and the slowdown of the tourism, the construction continue to boom and has been the most dynamic driver of GDP, in which the sector continue and represent 2% of the growth of GDP in that years. So we can say that this is the large contributor to the country economic growth. Other facts, according to the Ministry of Land Management, Urban Planning and Construction, the government has authorized more than 57,000 construction projects nationwide in the last 2 decades, with the total investment in excess of $66 million. So the real estate and construction sector employ an average of 150,000 employees on any given day. In brief, we can agree that the real estate and construction sector play a vital role in Cambodia economic growth by attracting foreign investment, speculate the cash flow, and create a job for this industry.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor, for your comprehensive explanation. So, from the legal perspective, we would like to know what kinds of legal criteria or legal condition that local or foreign companies or foreigners have to follow if they wish to launch construction projects. For example, like the special economic zones.
Okay, thank you, Sreynou. Before answer to the question, I would like to note that according to Cambodian Constitution and the Land Law 2001, for the foreigner, or I can say the investor, foreign investor, it's prohibited to own any partial land in Cambodia. However, a foreigner may own any private unit as a condo from the first floor. This is authorized by the co-owned building law. And other than owning land, foreign investor may operate any business activity in the real estate and construction sector, such as and the property development, if they have themselves 100% of activity or have jointly invested with the local stakeholders. Assets, there are the prohibition for the foreign investor on the owning of the partial of the land in Cambodia. But however, there are some structure that authorize the foreign investor or the foreigner to invest in Cambodia in the sector of real estate and construction. First one, they can form a business. It means to invest in Cambodia, foreign investor may establish a news company, a subsidiary or a branch office under the national law, I mean the law of Cambodia, to become a Cambodian company. The company, registered company has to be owned by at least 51% by the Cambodian. And the second option, the foreigner can purchase the share. It means that the foreign investor can purchase the share in existing company, I can say target company. In such case, a shareholding percentage of at least 51% of total voting share in the target company must be held by Cambodian individual or a legal entity to ensure the validity of the target company ownership over the land. The third option, it can be directly the foreign investor purchase the land. In this case, a foreign investor may also opt to create a news company to acquire immovable. In such case, a foreign investor may opt to create a news company to acquire immovable asset. So the company where 51% or more than of the total voting share are held by Cambodian individual or legal entity can own the land in Cambodia. The fourth one is the acquisition of the right to use or enjoy of the land. It means that there are other sub-option in this case. It means the foreigner can lease the land from the Cambodian as the owner, and according to the Cambodian civil code, for the lease, that period of the lease is more than 50 years. It means that it will become the perpetual lease. In such case, the foreigner as an investor can ask to register the perpetual lease to get a certificate of perpetual lease. It means that like you have the hard title of the land. So it's easy for the foreign investor to find the source of fund or to get this certificate as a collateral for financing of their activity, business activity. Besides from this, the investor, I mean the foreign investor, may also acquire economic land concession, which provide the right to use and develop a specific state-owned land for the development of agro-industrial activity. Regarding to your question on the special economic zone, I can say that the special economic zone is a mechanism that the government of Cambodia established to attract the foreign investor to come into Cambodia. So what is the relation between the SEZ or Special Economic Zone or SEZ on the real estate sector? By law, SEZ is established by the subdegree, or we can say in Khmer, Anukrat. Generally, SEZ is established by the subdegree, I mean the decision of the Royal Government of Cambodia, or we can say in Khmer, Anukrat. And there are some conditions here. I only brief the the condition, but for the exhaustive list of requirements, it can be more detailed than that. So for the SEZ can be established in Cambodia at the appropriate and strategic area according to the decision of the government and one-stop service mechanism of the Council for the Development of Cambodia. We call it CDC. SEZ may be established by state, private entity, or public-private partnership, so-called PPP. The requirement for the land side to create a special economic zone, the land have to, for the land side of the special economic zone have to have 50 hectare at minimum, at least I mean. So with the precise location and geographic boundary. Other conditions as is that soil have the surrounding fence, mean they have the precise boundary with the other land. And it all have the management building, administration office, and other infrastructure comply with the technical requirement. There are some procedures to follow. The zone developer have to submit a request approval for the development to SEZ board for the register QIP, the abbreviation of the qualified investment projects. SEZ board have a duty to review the proposal and submit to the one-stop service mechanism for the council to decide whether to reject or approve the request. And there are some required documents. First one is the feasibility study, and the second one is the master plan of all infrastructure in the zone, and submit other related document or certified letter requirement from the relevant ministry or institution to the SEZ board. Such requirements shall be stipulated in the condition registration certificate.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Limchheang, for your kind sharing concerning the legal processes of launch construction projects. So we move on to another question that you mentioned earlier, that there has been a fast-growing progress of the real estate sector in Cambodia. So we would like to know, what do you think are the key factors that promoted those development of the real estate in Cambodia?
To respond to your question, okay, I can say that there are some key factors that contribute to fast-growing progress of the real estate and construction sector in Cambodia. The first one is the strong financial institution in Cambodia, which inject loan capital into the real estate and construction market. And the second is the present contribution of the local and foreign investor are providing really great impetus to the development of this sector. And the third one, the most real estate buyer invest for the long-term profits. I can say that for the COVID-19, it is a short term. So even in the COVID, yes, sure, there are the slowdown of the transaction on the real estate and construction. But for the transaction also purchase and sell on the real estate keep continue, because the buyer say that it is a good opportunity to buy, because it can buy at the lower price compared to the period that the price of the real estate increase. So that's why we can say that even during the COVID and there are the slowdown of the real estate transaction, I mean purchase and sell, but still we have the transaction happen during the COVID. The fourth factor is that Cambodia have not yet a land use master plan. Therefore, the opportunity is everywhere. We can always make profit if we can invest in the future potential government development area. And the last fundamental factor, but not least, when Cambodia enjoys the political stability, comprehensive peace, attractive investment laws, respect for the rule of law, and strong economic growth, the real estate and construction sector will run smoothly.
Thank you, Doctor, for your insights. So we move on to another question that related to the impacts of the international economy. That recently we can see that still the fluctuation of the global markets, especially resulted from the crisis between Ukraine and Russia and other economic from the COVID-19. So we would like to know, like, how do you think those global economy affect the real estate sector in Cambodia?
Yes, sure. For all those international facts, especially for the pandemic of COVID-19 and recently the problem of the Ukraine that affect at least the economic growth of Cambodia as a country that needs the foreign investment. I mean, we need the capital, the capital from the foreign countries. So we can say that in 2020, however, the crisis unleashed by COVID-19 negatively affected the three main sectors of Cambodia economic, including tourism, manufacturing, export, and construction. That three of these sectors contributes more than 70% of the country economic growth and provided 39% of its total paid employment in 2019. During the first quarter of the year 2020, the first consequence of COVID-19 has been observed. The retail sector is the most impacted. Activity have slowed down while many retailers are postponing and cancelling their extension, reallocation plans. Despite the first 2 months of 2020 indicated that a significant growth. The whole sector has experienced a slowdown following the ongoing issue that appear in the finance and banking industry at the national and regional level. However, in spite of increasing consequence of COVID-19, land properties saw title sign of the slowdown since the local demand remained long. However, for the recent report published by the National Bank of Cambodia (NBC) on the bank sector, macroeconomic progress and outlook for 2022, and it's revealed that the construction and real estate sector may be reason to rejoice this year. For the post-COVID-19, as recently the National Bank of Cambodia has published a report. Through this report, we can see that the real estate and construction sector in Cambodia will be grow. And I have learned that the AEON market that is in projects to invest in a big center in Sreynou that will offer the import storage, custom clearance, and support for the cross-border retail.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Limchheang. So now we've moved on to the last question of our dialogue today. I would like to know from your experience and also from a legal perspective, what do you think are the other priorities that Cambodia should pay more attention to promote the real estate and construction sector in the future?
Okay, thank you. Regarding to the question, as I have already mentioned earlier, for the fast growing in the real estate and construction sector, and in this case, real estate and construction sector still a factor of economic growth of Cambodia. So, regarding to your question, what is the key factor that the government should consider for promoting this sector to get more and more attractive and to become the fundamental of the economic growth of Cambodia? From my personal opinion as a lawyer, or I can say that from the legal perspective, Cambodia have already the legal instrument regarding to the real estate and construction to frame this sector. Anyway, the implementation or the enforcement of those laws is very important. I can cite you some important law or regulation regarding to the real estate sector. We have Land Law 2001, Investment Law, and recently we have the trust law that and recently we have trust law that and recently we have a trust law in which the real estate investment fund is one of the mechanisms. I can say it is the new mechanism that attracts the foreign investment for Cambodia. Other points to be considered also is the register. Other point to be considered also is to complete the LMAP registration. I mean the registration of the hard title for the piece of land in Cambodia. So as I know, the government have already tried best on that, but to promote this sector, it's very important to accelerate and to complete the LMAP registration. So every piece of the land in Cambodia, we have the hard title. So it is easy for the foreign investor come, and there are no problem of the issue of the land on the claim, or I can say that there can be any problem because if you have the soft title, it may be any issue that we may not know. The other point is regarding to the dispute resolution mechanism for the real estate sector. So as you may know, in Cambodia, recently there are many Chinese investors come and invest in Cambodia, and right now there are some problems that not yet resolved because there are many unfinished construction, for example in the Sreynou province. So it is very important to have a clear mechanism and to resolve those problems. And it can be necessary also for the future. Any new law and regulation should be adopted to regulate, to frame the real estate sector. It maybe have a new issue near the future.
Thank you, Doctor, for your response. So I think that's all for our discussion today. And once again, I would like to express my appreciation for your kind participation and contribution to our program. Ladies and gentlemen, the Asian Vision Dialogue has now come to an end. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next episode.